Welcome everyone, Arthur Bablis here. Congratulations for getting to the Conscious Evolution Show, the podcast, part of the Evolve from the Inside Out community. And we're going to be coming to you here, we're going to be having discussions and conscious conversations. And our whole purpose is to get you thinking about your thinking, to ask you some questions so you can discover decisions that you need to make in order for you to start moving your life forward. How do you bring in more joy, more love, more happiness, more success into your life? You see, leadership, success and happiness, it doesn't just happen, it's cause and effect. Being a world-class therapist, an extraordinary coach and heart-centered healer requires you to do the inner work, to continually grow and evolve. In this podcast, I'm going to share with you what I've learned on my journey in this wonderful field, blending modern science, traditional wisdoms and spiritual laws to help you to discover that essence inside of you and ask yourself the questions to help you to finally break through. Here's a question: who would you be, what would you do, and how would you feel if you already had blank? Think about that. This podcast is going to help you fill in the blanks. This is Arthur Bablis. Welcome everyone, Arthur Bablis here, and we are streaming live. Boy, I said we're going to have something special today. I got this whole new tech set up and I got all these new effects and I'm really excited. It's Christmas, right? And so when Christmas time comes along, I like splurging on myself and getting all this new technology and playing around over the Christmas break and thinking, how can we deliver something different for you guys in 2024? Because, you know, what's your motto for next year? 2024. 2024 is a year where you can become more because you deserve more. So what can you do? How can you start rewiring your thinking, elevating your heart space, working on your soul in order for you to become get to next level in the way you choose to live life, in the way that you choose to show up every day with each person. And, you know, that's the magic of life, right? Become a better person and you start living a better life. Guys, thank you so much for being here today. This is the Conscious Evolution Show. We were coming to you yesterday. Obviously, we had some glitches, but we are here live. We have a beautiful human being, a wonderful soul that we're going to introduce you to and have a wonderful conversation with today. And I'm so excited because, look, this gentleman, I've seen him online for a long time. He's been doing a lot of work and he's making, when I say a lot of noise, he's actually helping a lot of souls, helping a lot of people to be able to heal and to move forward in life and become better quality human beings. And it's only been recently, maybe over the last couple of months, that we've connected online and we've had some wonderful conversations. It's, you know, when you just meet someone and you just connect, you just align, you're on the same wavelength, on the same frequency. And so you don't need to filter any of your conversations. You just can speak from the heart and speak from the soul, and they get you because they're on the same mission, on the same purpose. And we're here to be able to make a difference, help other people live a better quality life. So guys, if you're watching live, let us know where you're watching from. Put it in the chat if you're watching live, if you're catching on a replay. This is obviously the Conscious Evolution Show. We're going to be here for about 45 minutes, maybe longer. We don't know. We might have some special things that we're going to be able to do with you later on today, and also some great announcements for you regarding 2024. So let us know if you're watching. Put in the chat and, well, let's get started, all right? So as I said, I've got this special person that I want to introduce. I've met him recently. We got on the phone, we had a chat, and we actually did an online Zoom together. We did a program together, and so we had an opportunity to actually be participants in a training and really got to know this person really well. And I'm excited because, you know, when I think about the work that he's done, he posted his achievements, what he did in 2023 the other day. I thought, wow. Not many people do that because it's like you think, well, you know, are we talking about ourselves? Are we big noting ourselves? But it's not really about that. It's about reflecting back and saying, hey, how far have I come? Because many of us don't do that. We don't pat ourselves on the back for where we are. It's like, are we there yet? And we keep thinking we're not where we want to be yet, but we don't recognize how far we've come from where we started. And when I read his post and I realized, man, I didn't realize this guy's done all this type of work. You know, he's got a YouTube channel with 200,000 views. Congratulations. You know, he's helped 7,000 souls this year in terms of helping elevate their mindset and heal their heart and to become better quality human beings. Guys, he's got his own business, the Mind Mastery Institute. He is a behavioural specialist. He specialises in NLP, in behavioural psychology, in breathwork, in meditation. He puts all this together in his own unique way and delivers to his clients, his students, his graduates, his people who want to do the work with him an experience which ultimately transforms their life. So, guys, I want you to put your hands together. I want you to welcome, let's bring on down, James Buckley! James, thank you so much for being here today, my friend. It was, I think it was meant to be today, right? The 22nd of December. So I don't know if that means anything for someone. I know it's my nephew's birthday today, so it's a special day. So I want everyone to think about 22nd December. Well, it's a 22, it's a master number. Hey, in numerology, the master number. So maybe that's why we needed to have a chat today on the 22nd December. James, welcome. Thank you so much for making your time available today so we can have a conversation. Geez, tell me what's been going on for you.
Arthur, I'm really honoured and humbled with your introduction, and it has been really amazing to connect with you on a deeper level. As you said, we've been following each other for quite a few years now, and I've always loved and respected the work that you've done, Arthur, and so it's been really lovely to connect on a different level and get to this space. I'm really excited for today. So for today, what's been happening? There's a lot. Go read my Facebook post. I won't read back through that, but look, some of the biggest things that have been happening for me, Arthur, is we've got some really exciting programs that my team and I have just launched, and we're seeing phenomenal results coming out of that. One of which is a research piece, a medical research piece with a couple of cardiologists, and we're doing work with hypnosis versus statin intolerance. So 5% of the population that takes statins have what's called a statin intolerance or bad bad symptomology from the statins. And whatever we think about statins is totally fine, but we're helping those people that are really suffering from those side effects and can't take those statins, and then they have other side effects that come from that. So
Look,
we're seeing
we'll
some
get into
really
that.
exciting
We'll
results
get into
coming
that
out of
because I
that.
think that we're going to have a great conversation with that. But now that you brought that up, I want to mention, that's the thing, like following you over the last year or so, and then starting to have a conversation with you over the last couple of months. When I look at the work that you do and all the posts that you post, you have a lot of science that validates the work that you do. And not many people in this industry do that. And so being in this field of human performance and behavioral psychology, mindset work, meditation, breath work, and helping people to be able to break through those limitations, break through those obstacles, those shackles which are holding them back. And as we keep on saying, to move forward in life, to be a better quality human being. You've done a lot of work in the neuroscience area, and you brought that into this field.
Yes, sir.
Which I think is just, again, takes your business and what you do to another level. It's not just another coach who's done all this wonderful work, and we love them. That's awesome. It's a wonderful industry to be in. But if you're here to serve and you're here to make a difference, then do you keep on sharpening the sword? Do you keep on learning? And so obviously you've done that. So I'd like to know about that. I'd like to know a bit about your background. It's like,
Sure.
I know you've been in this field for about a decade or so, but how did you get in this field? Tell us about the James Buckley before the James Buckley
Well,
today.
I don't know if I want to, Arthur. It's a long story, but look, long story short, I grew up in pretty challenging circumstances, family home issues, domestic violence, drug abuse. Throughout the family, it was riddled. And that really drove and motivated me to want to learn what was actually going on. To be totally honest, I was motivated from a very young age to want to take care of my family. I could see that they were all struggling. I've got two older siblings and I've got a younger brother as well. And I could see that my mum and dad and my brother and sister and everyone else in my family were struggling. They really had issues. And they didn't have the tools or the strategies or the techniques or the support to be able to overcome those challenges that they had. And so I guess from a really young age, I was very driven. I had a compassionate heart at a young age, as most of us do, and so I wanted to try and help my family, and I guess that's where the trajectory truly started, Arthur. But again, long story short, when we come to the neuroscience side of things, really been a tooth path approach out of necessity. One was that I was working with a lot of surgeons and doctors and lawyers and nurses and whatnot, and so that forced me to provide proof. Really, that's all it came down to, and to give the science of what it is that I'm actually doing. Because if there's no science there, I find that those types of analytical, very practical, very pragmatic, down to earth types of people, they struggle to absorb that information and utilize it because there's a lack of belief there. Whereas when we provide the science and the evidence and the proof, that allows people to trust that process and move through it easily. And so it was really out of necessity that I learnt all of these things, because I was challenged by these people, and it was a blessing in disguise at the time, and truly the way that I believe it should be now.
So when you say you're working with a lot of allied health professionals, doctors
Yes.
and nurses and so forth, so they're the people that you're attracting in your business, or is this working with them now, or were you working with them before in the previous version of JB? 'Cause I want to know
Look,
who James Buckley was. Like, what were you doing before you were doing this stuff?
sure. That's a long story, Arthur, and we can go there. But I left
Only share
home
as
really
much as you're
young when I
comfortable
was.
with, share, my friend.
We might go for hours. I left home at 14, Arthur, and I was homeless for several months, and that motivated me again to learn a lot of stuff and get into hypnosis and get into NLP and psychology and all of those things.
So let me.
Um,
I want to stop there when I mention it, because
Go.
you mentioned you were homeless.
Yes, sir.
Um, and thank you for calling me sir, but sir's my dad. All right. And he's no longer with us, and so when you say sir, I keep on thinking of my dad. So I mean, if you're okay, if you like calling me sir, you can, because that'll come with dad. But there's no need to. Um, so you mentioned you were homeless. When you say homeless, can you unpack that a little bit more? Like, what, you had no home to live? Were you living on the streets, or?
Sure. Look, like I said, I grew up in pretty challenging circumstances. My dad was put in a boarding home when he was 6 and suffered some pretty severe abuse there. And so his coping mechanisms coming out of that as an adult was alcohol and drugs. And that's how he managed his state. And a beautiful soul, big heart, did magical stuff on this earth, but he was truly tortured and traumatized. And so his coping mechanisms, like I said, was alcohol and drugs. And my mum left my dad when I was 14. It was the end of the road for her. She couldn't do anything. And at that time, my dad was doing heroin on the floor, and I decided that I was going to leave home as well. And so I packed up and left home at 14 with a little rucksack, and stayed with a few friends, and that didn't last very long. And I ended up on the street and was very confused. I was very lost. I was very embarrassed and ashamed. I
Mate,
thought that I was going to become a rap star, a movie star, or something at 14, and it didn't
let
happen.
me ask a question, because again,
Yeah,
I want to thank you so much for being open and sharing the story,
sure.
James. And if for anyone that's listening, what we think is most personal to us, our personal stories, is actually most general to everyone else. And so by sharing our personal story, it actually allows someone to actually heal.
Agree.
It allows someone to actually understand that they're not alone, no matter what it is that they're going through, and that there's always hope. There's always a light at the end of the tunnel. And so thank you for sharing this, because that's going to be the light for many people that are watching and listening today. A 14-year-old, can you just help me understand the mindset of a 14-year-old to decide to leave home and say, you know what, this is not the environment for me? Like, where was your headspace there?
That's an interesting question. There's lots of uncertainty, Arthur, and uncertainty coupled with lots of confidence led to that decision, I think. I did have a lot of confidence, but I had a lot of insecurities as well. And
But on the same token, James, on the same token, you must have had something deep inside. You discovered some sort of resilience, some sort of power, some sort of will. And I think this is the innate human will that we all have, a
sure.
will to keep on moving forward, a will for something better, a will you know what, this isn't for me. I got to take the next step. So I don't know, for anyone listening, if you've ever gotten to that stage, you get to that point where in the training that we do, it's like the the perturbation point, right? The bifurcation point, the moment of truth that people have in their life, where you got to, it's at this moment you make a decision to be able to bring order to the chaos in your life, or you just disappear in the chaos. And somehow you connected to that spark inside you, that essence, that light. At 14-year-old, whether you did that consciously, you probably didn't do it consciously, you did it unconsciously. And whoever's listening, you'll remember this unconsciously. You forget about it consciously, you remember it unconsciously. We do that? Maybe I should put one of these things on as well too. Let's put them into trance right now.
It's all good for you.
I think that says something special about you and anyone in a similar situation at that stage to say, you know what? I'm forging out in this big world to make my way.
I was pretty blessed, Arthur. It was a non-decision for me. It was an inevitable movement on the path that I was on. But I guess when you talk about mindset, my mindset was that I'd really lost faith and trust in a lot of people, the institution of schools, the institution of my family, the institution of law. I saw a lot of friends go into juvenile detention centres and things like that and have other trauma occur. And so for me, it was really that I I had nothing else to lean on. There was nothing else to rely on. It was all about me. I didn't trust those things, and I wanted to go and do my own thing. And by the grace of whatever, I'm here now.
Okay, so well, that was 14. Obviously, look, 21. That's only 7 years ago, right?
Sure. Thank you, brother.
So tell me, obviously, there's a huge story you can probably share there, but from 14 to now, what are some of the pivotal moments for you that got you to where you are today? I mean, every moment is a moment, like a sliding door moment for us in our lives.
Sure.
But what are the moments that you can look back on and say it's because those moments, maybe they were these type of moments, right? Maybe the moments that helped you become conscious of your next step.
Sure.
And make a more purposeful, intentional decision to move where you are today. Can you share those with us and
Totally.
how it actually led to where you are today? And then we can get into what is it you're doing today, neuroscience of behavioural change and all that wonderful stuff. And what I want to chat about, but let's get some context. It's like, because people are going to look at you and say, man, he's kind of coming with a tie. He must be a professional himself. He's got PhDs and degrees and all that type of stuff. No, mate, you were homeless.
Correct.
Came from a dysfunctional family. And I'm saying that with as much love and humility I can, because what's normal or not normal, it's their labels we place on just our experience of life. So you had an experience of life on one level you chose, right?
100%.
We know that on one level, as a soul, you chose to have on this planet Earth as a 3D being, as a 5D soul, you chose to have this experience for your evolution. But it's that very experience that you went through, James, that's making you who you are today and be able to serve the way you serve.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate that.
So
Look,
I'm going to go and speak of you so everyone can appreciate you in a big screen.
Oh, sure. Careful.
Aha moments, and we'll just come on and off as we have a chat.
Amazing. So, look, Arthur, I think that there's probably three turning points, but one really major turning point for me was I lost a girl that I'd fallen in love with to suicide when I was 18, and we were deeply in love, but she was also full of trauma. She'd suffered trauma and abuse as a child, and she was addicted to street drugs and prescribed drugs, prescription drugs as well. And so when she passed, that really transformed something in my mind that broke me and opened me up at the same time, Arthur. It was like a fork in the road for me, and I had to decide if I was going to continue on the path of destruction and blame and not taking responsibility and all of those things, or I was actually going to choose to take responsibility and change my life and change the direction of my life and the trajectory of my life. So that was probably the major turning point for me. And off of the back of that, I got interested and involved in martial arts. At 18, I wanted to learn how to physically protect myself because of the situations that I've been in my life. And that was the most important thing. If I can physically protect myself, then everything will be fine. And so I went on that journey. I was the fastest person ever to go through the black belt. I became the captain of the international demonstration
Wait,
team. We used to
wait,
do
wait, wait.
backflips and board breaks and all that
Okay,
crazy stuff.
you're a black belt, right? And I didn't know that. That's something new. So I got to be careful when I'm around you. Now, actually,
Never.
again, I want to stop here because 14 years of age, you left home. 4 years later, you've at that time found the love of your life, and circumstances that she decides that, well, that's the end of her journey on this planet. So you're still an 18-year-old soul, an 18-year-old mind. How did you cope with that, James? What did you do?
Look, that's a big question. I was seeing a lot of psychologists and psychotherapists and doing the traditional types of courses, cognitive behavioural therapy, psychotherapy. I was medicated for various conditions, and none of that stuff was actually working for me, Arthur. And so at that time, I really did need to dig into a lot of I needed to do soul searching, and that soul searching led me to understanding that we have an unconscious mind, led me to understanding that we have the ability and power to influence our unconscious mind and shape it. And that's really where that transformation started to occur for me to climb out of that depression, the PTSD that I'd suffered, anxiety that I was medicated for, and so on and so forth. That young mind had to do a lot of work, but that's really been the path for me. The path of self healing has been the path of leaving a trail behind. It's been a path of leaving those breadcrumbs for others. It's given me the ability to be able to lead by example, Arthur, and to reach back and support people and empower them and strengthen them to be able to follow the same path for themselves.
You know, I'm just listening to the story, James, and you obviously know, and a lot of people who are watching know the archetype that Carl Jung talked about, the wounded healer.
Yes, sir.
And all of us who come in this industry, we come in because we've gone through our own individual journey. We've had gone through their own dark night of the soul. We had to go through a healing, and we think, how can we pay it forward and be able to help other people in similar situations, or just going through their stuff? And for those who've come in this industry that way, and you just know, you just meet them, you know, it's from an experience. They're not just jumping into this coaching industry to make a six-figure business because it's the booming industry, right?
That's right.
They're coming in this industry because of their journey and because that they've got a mission to be able to make the world a better place and to be able to share and spread their light. And it's, of course, no judgment on people's journey because it's like, you know, someone's story, listen to the story at a bar next to the piano bar, like the old Casablanca days with Humphrey Bogart, you know, like play it again, Sam. Everyone's story is a story. And I don't want to take away from the story, but I'm just so, I'm grateful and I'm humble actually just listening to your story because, yeah, I don't know what it's doing for me, James. There's something happening inside. It's giving me hope.
That's a nice thing, brother.
Hope that, and you know, it's interesting because I think of the word hope, and with the work that we tend to do, like we do a lot of muscle monitoring, muscle testing, and when you test hope, hope doesn't necessarily elevate the body in terms of frequency. It actually depresses the body. It's like the word try. You know, the word try has actually got a negative frequency, and the word hope is like what's caught up in the word hope. Is there hoping it gets better? Is there a knowing it's going to get better? So you know what? I'm just refraining myself. It's not hope that you're giving me. You're giving me a knowing, and and this conversation's actually elevating my belief that we are in the right place at the right time, and there are people out there doing this work that are meant to do this work, and doing it for the right reasons. Because you know, for me, hey, we all go through our journey. 28 years being in this field of complementary medicine, personal growth, human performance, and you see these wonderful people come through and they just disappear, and it's like, well. Do you, from my perspective, to meet someone who's just genuine and gone through that journey themselves and here to make a difference, it just, you know what? this is the industry you need to be in. So I just want to thank you for that. I just wanted to that
Humble
was
brother.
coming out, So all right, so let's get back to the story. So you took a deep dive into understanding the mind and healing yourself. And is that the work you went into? What work were you doing before you did this work and before you
I,
did
I was
trainings?
teaching martial arts at the time. I was teaching self-defense and martial arts. We were training military personnel, bouncers, and all of that kind of
Wow.
stuff.
So at that young age, you got into martial arts. And so I want to talk about that because how did that help you with your mindset and your body and your soul? I mean, a young boy there, 18, 19 years of age and fastest to get to black belt. Um, would that be a pivotal moment of helping you get to where you are today? Like that thing?
Totally. 100%. That was super pivotal. But what happened there for me, Arthur, the transition was that, I did all of this work to make myself feel strong and confident. And I realized there was still insecurities, there were still issues. My mind was still a mess. I still had anger issues. I still had fear issues. It hadn't actually fixed anything. It had trained me to be more disciplined. It trained me to be more confident, trained me to feel safe. So all of those good things came, fitness and health and all of that. But it really led me to the point where I realized actually there's something else that I need to work on, which was in my mind. And that's how I started to get very deeply into hypnotherapy was where I started. Arthur, I was smoking cigarettes and I didn't want to smoke anymore. I saw my grandmother die from emphysema from smoking. And it just wasn't the path that I wanted to take. To me, that was a symbol of the wrong path to take. And so I used hypnosis to cure myself of smoking. And that happened in a matter of days with an online audio. But I was terrified of this audio. I was in fear that this person was doing things inside of my mind that maybe I didn't want as well. So I had a lot of paranoia coming from my background, and that then drove me to want to understand these things on a deep level so I could do that work for myself, again just purely out of necessity. I had never thought, oh, I'm going to be a coach and I'm going to transform people's lives. It never came about that way. It was purely about how do I fix what's going on inside of me. And that's been the best thing I've ever done, Arthur, is traveling that path of understanding the science and then using that stuff for myself. And now I just get to share that with as many people as
So
I
tell me
can.
when that journey starts. So in terms of going back and training yourself in this area, when did that start for you?
That was at the age of 18. I started to do that, Arthur. I started to read books. I started to get interested in Tony Robbins. I'd seen him on an infomercial, and so I got
Do you
all
have
of his
CDs?
CDs
Not
and
you got his
transferred them onto
tapes.
tape. Yep.
Yeah, you got
Well,
his tapes.
I got CDs and then I transferred them onto tapes because my car at the time, I could only afford a cheap car. It only had a cassette player. So I had to put them on tape.
Let me ask you a question because I want to get into the James Buckley today. But back then, you said you started reading books and everything else. What's the first book that you read that you can remember that put you on this journey?
Awaken the Giant Within from
Wow,
Tony
Tony
Robbins.
Robbins.
Yep.
Wow, love it. That was the second book I actually got in this area. The first book was given to me by, I was working for Remington Office Automation, selling typewriters. My God, typewriter.
Wow. What is
What's
that?
a typewriter, right? It's like a cassette, It's like.
Correct.
And my sales manager at the time gave me a book, The Magic of Thinking Big by David Schwartz. That was the
I
first
know.
book I read. And then
Wow.
from there, got into Tony Robbins, and I moved to Melbourne and did Tony Robbins event in '94, and well, the rest is history, right?
Wow.
But it's amazing how that big fella, right? Is 42 years, 43 years doing this work. How many lives changed because
Yeah.
of his decision to serve, and then that continues the ripple effect with yourself and other people. So, all right. So what are you talking about? 2 decades in this field now? 3 decades? 4
Tw- tw-
decades?
tw- 22 years now. I started when I was 4, Arthur.
22 years. Wow. All right. 22 years in this field. And so just quickly, tell us what you've been able to achieve in terms of the training that you've done. So you've done your hypnosis, you've done your NLP, you've done some cognitive behavior therapy, you said. So what are the other areas in terms of when you did the deep dive in neuroscience that you're bringing into the work that you're doing now?
Yeah, look, there's three points that I teach now, Arthur, and that is that I teach self-hypnosis. So out of all of that stuff that I've learned, I've done my best to formulate a process that is very fast acting and creates really profound changes for people for themselves. So rather than going to somebody to get themselves fixed, which is not what I wanted to do. Like I said, I was paranoid to go to a hypnotherapist. I was paranoid to have anybody do anything inside of my mind that I wasn't choosing consciously. And that was only because I didn't trust people because of my traumatic past. But that really led me to create this process that empowers people to become their own hypnotherapists so they can do the programming for themselves. It's what this image is in the background. Rather than
Mm.
taking your computer to get programmed or fixed by somebody else, learn to be the programmer for yourself and learn to resolve those issues for yourself so you can program yourself for success. And so that's kind of one part of it. And the other parts of it is breath work and meditation, Arthur. And that's because at the age of 18, I lived in a Buddhist center for 2 years. It was cheap rent. It was $50 a week there. And they took me under their wing, and at that very tender age and the trauma that I was suffering, that truly healed me, the compassion that I felt there. And then obviously those things that they were teaching in breath work and meditation embossed in my soul, I could say. And so I utilize those two tools as well, which are also proven by science, and I only teach what's proven and verifiable by science. And they have a very profound way to go very deeply into people, resolve that deep stuff so we can come back up and do that conscious top-down work.
Mm. Wow, mate, geez, you're blowing me away here, James. You're bringing to the table so much life experience and so much training in the area of behavioral psychology and human performance and mindset and heart set and soul set stuff. It's just wonderful. So the work that you do now, so you've put all that together in your Mind Mastery Institute,
Correct.
right? And you have programs to actually help people to heal themselves.
Yep.
I love how you're saying that your hypnosis is the key with the breath work and the meditation. You know, the subconscious clearing, right? Become your own healer,
Yes.
essentially. And I think when you think about that word, I always had a challenge with calling ourselves a healer. The people call themselves healer. We don't do the healing. Do we put the hands on the body and say, hello, your brother, sister, healer? Because
No.
even if we do that, people do that. My belief is that the person has a belief that they're being healed. So
Correct.
they're doing the healing themselves through their belief and through their willingness and their openness to receive.
And Arthur, that's exactly the definition of a placebo effect, which we know 2/3 of all healings in a hospital is because of the placebo effect.
Man, I love it. I love so you're talking my language. You know, we say modern medicine says placebo, 30% of all healing can get put down to the placebo. In other words, it's all in the mind.
Correct.
So here's what I always say, James. Let's say you needed neurosurgery. You had a tumor. If you had a tumor, right, and your neurosurgeon, and you went to neurosurgeon says, okay, you need surgery, and you say, okay, tell me, doc, what's the prognosis? And he said, look, I don't want to really say anything, but, you know, at best 15, maybe 20% success rate. 20%? Okay, can you send me to the placebo doctor, please? What do you mean? I want to go to the mind specialist because a placebo, you're the medical doctor, you can give me 30% with placebo and then 20% with surgery. So send me to the mind master, please.
That's the best place to be as far as I'm concerned, Arthur.
You're the mind master, my friend.
Well,
I mean, this is the work. All of us in this field, that's what we help people do.
Yes, correct.
But it comes from experience too, right? It's not a case that, you know, you just do a weekend workshop and you jump up and down and say, yes, we can help people. Of course you can, because there's a willingness there, but there's a journey you need to, I believe, that we go on in order to be able to help from the experience as well too. So have a genuine connection with people. So love it that you talk about the placebo. So that's what you've put together in your program.
Correct.
Well, tell me more about that then.
Look, I'm really excited about the field at the moment, Arthur. I'm working with two of the top cardiologists in the world doing various different programs writing a chapter in one of their books and so on and so forth. And I'm really excited and humbled that people like that in the medical field are open to these things. They're exploring it for themselves. They're sharing it with their patients. So it's a really exciting time in history as far as I'm concerned, where I think the doors have actually opened and we have an opportunity to commune with the other side. I guess we can talk that way, even though I've done my best to stay neutral over the years. I do come from that more esoteric, um, more out there kind of
Well, the word
philosophy.
esoteric, right? I mean, as you would
Sure,
know, esoteric is a Greek word for inner work, doing inner
correct.
work. So when people say esoteric is out there stuff, actually, it's not out there stuff; it's in there stuff.
Agreed.
All right,
Agreed.
esoteric. When people say do the deep inner work, it's esoteric work, and
So then we should say what's out there is modern day medicine is out
yeah,
there
and the
doing
word
the out
is
there work.
and the word is exoteric. Exo
Yeah.
is the Greek word for outside. So exoteric and esoteric. So it's interesting. So extrinsic experience of life is the intrinsic. So we
Yes.
do the intrinsic work to extrinsically experience life. But
Yes.
as we know, universal law and principle, as you would know with all the work that you've done. The law of correspondence, as above, so below, as within, so without. And
Yes.
so your outside is a reflection of the inside. So doing the work that you do and people like in this field do actually help people become aligned on the inside. Well, interesting. I say become aligned on the inside in a way which is beneficial for them, closer to the true essence.
Love it.
Because people say your problem is that you're out of alignment. That's a half truth. Right now, you are aligned with what you don't want. Right? You're
Mm,
aligned with the less and best version of yourself. You're aligned
mm,
with those black bags, as a Hawaiian say, with
mm.
that trapped energy, that energy that you interpret as an experience which we label trauma or a negative emotion or a limiting decision. And so you need to do the healing to let go and find the blessing within that, to understand that served the purpose in order for you to be the person you are today, to do what it is that you need to do. That for me is what alignment is.
Love it.
And when people either just talk it or live it, so how many spiritual talkers do we know out there as opposed to spiritual workers? And I'm not saying this in a judgmental way. I love Robin Sharma. He says, I'm not judging, just reporting. These are some facts, right? People can take it any way they want to take it. And based on their reaction, well, it's a reflection of what they need to work with. That was me too. I found myself, I never judged in public. I did at home, privately though. That was all my stuff, right? Because I'm out of shame and embarrassment, the stuff that we need to deal with ourselves.